All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, for the Washington Nationals, they started off the decade of the 2010s as the worst team in Major League Baseball, but by the end of that decade, they were the kings of the mountain as they claimed their first and only World Series championship in 2019. But since then, it's been a steady and steep decline for the Nats as they once again find themselves irrelevant or as irrelevant as they were when they first relocated to DC in 2005 after years of toiling north of the border as the Montreal Expos. And when the Washington Nationals traded outfielder Juan Soto to the San Diego Padres just prior to MLB's trade deadline this week, it signaled the end of an era of competitive baseball in DC. And I know, don't get me wrong, I know that in each of the last 2 years, the Nationals have finished in last place in the National League East. But nonetheless, I think they're really the reset button is officially on for this franchise. And you think about what the Nats were, how they ascended to it, and how they're starting over again. I mean, in 2010, Washington made Bryce Harper the first overall pick of the MLB draft, and his arrival in Washington was met with a hero's welcome as the fortunes of the franchise hinged on his potential productivity. Now, by 2012, Washington was able to win the NL East for the first time outright in franchise history. The Nationals would continue to be a postseason contender throughout the decade, but they always found a way to come up short in the postseason. However, in 2019, after Harper left in free agency to join the Philadelphia Phillies, that changed. And in a short time, after Washington had it all come together for them in 2019, we now only have the remnants of a team that won a championship a couple of years ago. Now, of course, immediately after the World Series, Washington lost Anthony Rendon, their starting third baseman in free agency, as he signed with the Los Angeles Angels, albeit he really has not been productive out in Los Angeles. He's been hurt a lot, but Washington made the decision. Do we go after Rendon? Or do we stick with starting pitcher Steven Strasburg? And Strasburg himself has been injured once again ever since he signed that contract extension to remain in DC. We saw longtime Washington National Ryan Zimmerman retire after last season. Trea Turner and Max Scherzer were traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers last year, and now Scherzer is a starting pitcher for the New York Mets. We've seen veterans such as Howie Kendrick and Brian Dozier. They're out of MLB completely. And then you have pitchers such as Patrick Corbin and Anibal Sanchez. They're still in DC with the Nats, but they are not the same pitchers that they were several years ago. And, it's a lot of different factors for the Nationals right now. Obviously, the potential sale of this team changes the dynamic, but overall, you look at the structure of MLB, and I've talked about this before, and I will continue to talk about it. It's the hardline luxury tax in MLB as it is making teams make some hard decisions. You think about the 2016 Cubs and their core from that championship team is all separated. And you think about that Chicago playing in a big market, they didn't keep any of those guys. The 2017 Astros, they've lost some guys, but they still continue to chug along. The 2018 Red Sox, another team. And, you would never have thought that you would have seen the day that a big market team like the Boston Red Sox would have traded a player such of the caliber of Mookie Betts in his prime because they had a luxury tax decision to make, and obviously they traded him to the Dodgers. And then, of course, the Washington Nationals. I talked about the potential sale of this team being a factor, and it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Washington, like I said, not to sound like a broken record, they finished in last place in the East in each of the last 2 years. Washington lost 97 games last year, and there is a very strong possibility that they're going to lose 100 games this year for the first time since 2009. Now, obviously, the Nationals had no choice but to trade Juan Soto. The only thing for me, or several things for me, that was surprising, I really thought they would have tried to hold out and get like some more top prospects from a potential trade partner. And I really expected Washington to make this deal happen at the winter meetings, because it would have given clubs more of an opportunity to put together better packages for the Nationals. But nonetheless, they moved on from him, especially after he turned down numerous large and extensive contract offers to remain in DC. However, with that said, you look at this team now. If you're a fan of this franchise, you have to once again go back to being patient. It's as fast as this team rose up, and I really can't say fast. It was a steady decline. So I take steady rise rather. I take that back. It's a rapid fall, and let's see where the chips fall for this club, and hopefully sooner rather than later the folks in DC can once again see some competitive baseball. But again, a lot of things hinge on the potential sale of this team. But nonetheless, the star power that was once upon a time, just several years ago, rampant in DC on the baseball diamond is now officially a thing of the past. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.